Thank you. Well, thanks again. The Iowa Unity Coalition has been phenomenal to have aboard here in Waterloo, being able to utilize the connections that the organization provides in order to get that message across the state and across the city that we need to be a unified citizenry and understand what we're doing when we elect people into office. So this past 4 years for me in Waterloo has been quite informative about the government process and what it entails to run an entire city where your decisions affect 68,000 people at a minimum because they affect the entire Cedar Valley, but they really affect my citizens here in Waterloo, even though I only directly represent my ward, which is Ward 1 of the city. I've been a very active council person. One of the things I believe in my profession as a professional musician and a professor of music is that action is how you make change. So I've made several ordinances that have direct impacts on the citizens of Waterloo and have improved their lives and fixed blight and have created affordable housing and attracted people to our downtown and got actively worked with Mayor Hart to create the largest municipal internet that's going to be to all Waterloo citizens, regardless of where you live, affordable rates from $30 a month up to if you're a business and need high speed. We've done so much over these past 4 years and created so much opportunities for the citizens of Waterloo that it only was a question of do we need to continue this positivity moving forward to determine if I was going to do this again. Um, I've had a lot of personal hardships during this council run. I had the unfortunate uh, having to serve on jury duty for a case that affected the city of Waterloo, and I had to be an impartial judge on that for a citizen of Waterloo actually who, according to our jury, violated the rights of other citizens, and that was fun getting phone calls from around the nation from people mad at me for serving on jury duty. But the positives have completely outrun the negatives. What I want to see in the next 4 years from the city of Waterloo and moving forward is we have gotten to a point that we have a beautiful puzzle with a bunch of pieces all over the floor. We've started putting those pieces together in order to have a product to get jobs to the city so that people can have affordable housing, so that people can have access to things that you can get across the nation here in Waterloo, and to attract those people like myself, because I'm not from Waterloo, and I'm not from Iowa either. So that's a little bit unique when it comes to serving in local politics here. But getting people like me and my in-laws who moved here to move here and stay here and build a family and understand how great this city and state really are. So we've been moving in that direction, and my goal is to continue us to move us in that direction, regardless of the difficulties that are presented from the state.
Well, thank you, John. I'm going to give you two questions. I'm going to give it to you all at once, so you can answer the second one after you're done with the first one. One, can you specify about sustainability practices of what we can be done in our community? And I know you did mention about electric cars and solar panels. What systematic changes do you see as practical beyond the solar power and the electric cars?
Are those both questions? Both questions.
Oh, that was first one. Okay, let me get the second one. I'm sorry. The second one, I almost forgot. Clean water access is becoming a major concern throughout Iowa. What can be done now to ensure we have clean water in the future?
Great. So I'm going to speak respectively first to both of these at the same time because they
Okay.
both influence each other. So in order to have clean water, you have to have a sustainability plan. And one of the things that we are very fortunate to have in the city of Waterloo is Waterloo Water Works. Waterloo has good water, ironically. And that's something we've been fortunate to have over the past. And we've created opportunities to work with our sister city to combine our wastewater treatment plants. We've had these ideas in order to make things more effective and efficient, so that way we continue to produce the clean water that we do. Unfortunately, those have not been uh, let's say, reciprocate it. Uh, we will continue to try to work with our sister cities, but I think that's the real answer for the Cedar Valley. Waterloo itself has continued to try to expand and work with our cities at a border and work with the county in order to share resources. One of the biggest drains on the environment is repetitive use. So doing the same thing everywhere instead of creating centralized resources such as a municipal county-wide water treatment plant, or making sure that our county-wide that we have county-wide recycling as opposed to having random recycling places at random places, making sure that we're utilizing all of our resources into a singular unit. Another example is uh, we've talked about electric cars, and we're in America. Cars aren't going anywhere anytime soon. But if mass transit is improved, if we can have an effective and efficient bus system that uses uh, 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 ideally electric buses one day, but having one bus that transports 20 people effectively, efficiently, and on time saves the environment on having 20 different cars on the road. And having mass transit plans, having trains, something we've talked about here in the city of Waterloo is how do we get train travel? Since we are a centralized unit in the Midwest, we are centralized to Minneapolis, St. Louis, Chicago. How do we get trains, passenger trains, to us? Because that creates more people. Instead of driving to these locations, they can ride a train, saving on people on the road. Bicycle paths, making sure that we have clear, designated, safe bicycle lanes. We have electric scooters in our downtown, which prevents people from driving from one place to another. Uh, those are things that we can do to help our community move to a more sustainable future. For the government itself, I've already stated, getting more solar panels on on our roofs in places that we have options to do so. I know we've looked at our library to do that. We're moving into a new city hall, which is a combination of various buildings into one singular building, which again is more efficient use of electricity, more efficient use of gas, only dealing with one building that is up to date as opposed to several old buildings that probably have used more electricity uh, in their lifespan than the entire city. So we are making strives to be more efficient. And I think that efficiency will create better environmental protections for us around. Working with the EPA is something we've done for going into our instead of going and just expanding on the clean lands around our city, for example, we have several farmlands that have no issues. We've been going to brownfield sites within the city constantly, and cleaning those brownfield sites up first of all, and then after those sites are cleaned up, utilizing those sites for parks, utilizing them for housing. Um, it all compounds upon each other. And then if we're using, for example, Habitat for Humanity for those housing units, they have efficiency scores within their building requirements that they have to meet to build the house. So then we're getting efficient, affordable housing, thus creating a more sustainable future.
Well, thank you, John. Being real efficient with your time. We're going to give you 3 minutes. Then I'll take the last minute to close it out. So the floor is yours to talk more about yourself and your campaign and about the city of Waterloo.
Sure. Well, water. So I'm, for those that don't know me, I'm originally from Virginia. My dad was Navy. We moved around the nation quite a bit. I've lived in California for a brief stint. I lived in Mississippi for several years, Florida and Virginia, and various places around Virginia throughout my life. So I've had the opportunity to visit lots of metropolitan areas and very small rural areas, and live in these areas and understand, even as a child, like, what does this feel like? What are people talking about? How do they respond to each other? What is available? What is not available? And when I moved to Waterloo, well, Cedar Falls originally, I came here for college. For my degrees are both in music performance, one for conducting and one for viola. And I brought my then girlfriend, now wife, out here. It's like we're gonna live here because there's something unique about this state. There's something unique about this area where it has the small town feel. 60,000, 70,000 people to us is not very much. So we move here and I'm like, okay, small town feel, but it has all of the uh, opportunities and options and things to do that we had in Virginia, and it's far more affordable to live here. And it seems like at the time, this was 2012, people. we're more willing to look toward the future instead of focusing so much on the day of. That I would say that that has unfortunately become less true as time has passed. But that's something that I want to remember, bring back to Waterloo, bring back to Iowa, that we were a future forward-looking state to make sure that we were accessible to everybody. We don't have the warm beaches Florida has, but we have a good education system and affordable housing that you can actually have a nice yard in. Um, so my big thing about my campaign this time will be, let's make sure that the people understand what they have and what we can have and what we've already done. And you know what I'm about at this point. I've been on council for 4 years. I've passed several ordinances in those years. I've worked very hard to make sure I communicate with my constituents and they have an option to communicate with me. You know what you got. So I hope you like it. I've heard lots of positive from constituents. And I just want to move that forward and continue doing good work with Mayor Hart and the rest of the council.